People change when something becomes personal.
Hey, my suspicious audience. We are here for episode 2 of the LTUI Leadership Exchange. I'm here with Zena, our Chief Learning Experience Architect here at LTUI. Zena, would you like to introduce yourself a bit?
Sure. I'm Zina Al-Talib. I'm the Chief Learning Experience Architect at LTUI. So I'm going to be designing the learning solutions for organizational arrogance and building experiences that I'm really excited for all of you guys to experience.
What leadership skills has entrepreneurship ingrained into you, and how has it helped you to transform leaders?
One of the biggest lessons that I've learned through my entrepreneurship journey is actually resilience. When you're building something from the ground up, things rarely go as planned. And over time, I've learned that resilience is about pushing through those challenges and being adaptable. And I've noticed that the most successful leaders aren't really the ones that are the smartest in the room, but they're the ones who stay resilient and adapt intelligently. Like I said, pivoting when necessary to where it matters most. Listening to the market and to your customers actually becomes shortcuts to making intelligent business decisions. Because with your attunement and listening to what their needs are, is how you're gonna navigate through your business and make the right decisions. Now, also the most successful entrepreneurs I've worked with are willing to learn and willing to grow with resilience, adaptability, and listening really well. Then what makes all of that happen is taking action and materializing everything that you've learned. And it takes humility for you to achieve these things. So, humility is one of the most important leadership qualities because it keeps us learning, it keeps us growing, and open to perspectives beyond our own.
What qualities, tactics, and viewpoints have been essential to you in shaping the minds of leaders, entrepreneurs, and businesses?
So, what I've learned is that people don't change because you tell them something. People change when something becomes personal. And that's really been my experience. I remember facilitating a leadership session where participants were discussing communication breakdowns in their organization. Everyone agreed that communication was important, as we all do. Then they put them through an activity in the session. And within minutes, they experienced this exact communication failure they've been talking about. So nobody had to convince them anymore, right? Because they just experienced it themselves, they felt it. The debrief afterwards was completely different because they weren't discussing theory anymore, and they were discussing what they had just gone through, what they had just experienced. They were discussing something that actually happened to them. So now I spend less time asking, what do I want people to know? And more time asking, what do I want people to experience? Because experience is what people remember, feelings are what people remember.
How does leadership culture differ overseas? And how have you integrated that into your process?
You know, it's interesting. Here in the US, we're very task oriented. Internationally, though, what I noticed is that people wanted to know who you are before they wanted to know what you knew. So the more I traveled, the more I realized that my job wasn't to arrive with answers, but my job is really to arrive with curiosity. What's important to this group? How do they define success? What challenges are they facing? And how can I fill that?
How do you tailor experiential learning to affect behavior beyond knowledge and create lasting change?
When people experience the consequence themselves, the lesson becomes personal. And that's where reflection becomes really critical. And that's also something that's part of what I design. So once you're in the awareness space, then reflecting in that on that awareness, that reflection is going to create the insight. With that insight is where behavioral change comes in.
Have you witnessed organizational arrogance at work?
Unfortunately, I have to say yes. The story that I will share with you is something that I experienced with my manager, who herself was very frustrated by some challenges in her work environment and with her leader team. Unfortunately, some of that frustration began showing up in how she interacted with our team. So I experienced dismissiveness, half smiles, interruptions. My ideas were being overlooked or minimized. So I had a choice at that moment. I could react emotionally and dramatically, I could ignore it and let it continue, or I could address it as a leader. Fortunately for me, I had some exposure to organizational arrogance, and I was reading a copy of the book at that time, and I had talked to Dr. Vic about some of those ideas and thoughts. And I think that really empowered me to act the way that I did. If nobody challenges arrogant behaviors, they become barriers to trust, productivity, innovation, and organizational success. They become part of that organizational culture and add to the negativity and the arrogance of it. This experience taught me that disrupting those arrogant behaviors doesn't always require authority, but what it really requires is leadership within ourselves.
What about the book stood out to you and helped shape your vision?
What stood out to me the most is that organizational arrogance is really fundamentally a human problem. It's something that exists within us and within, as a result, within the organizations. So, my role at LTUI is taking this incredibly relevant concept and transforming that into experiences where people can feel, recognize, and understand from the inside out what it is to be on the side of being arrogant and on the side of experiencing arrogance from people in your organization or in your life. So I'm not going to say too much because I really want people to experience it for themselves. What I'm going to say is that I'm incredibly excited for participants to go through that experience and stay tuned.
All these topics and more available with the full episode under the LTUI Leadership Exchange podcast subscription. Make sure to tune in. And always check out the book, Organizational Arrogance by Dr. Vic at bookdrvic.com. And check out our website, LTUIconsulting.com, to see how LTUI can help you and your organization overcome organizational arrogance and enhance and transform leadership. Well, that's all today, folks. Until next time on the LTUI Leadership Exchange.